Hi, and welcome to the Maze channel, a platform where we unpack management and leadership challenges. I'm your host, Tabo Mualus. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing and hit the notification button so as you'll be informed whenever new videos get posted. Let us now navigate the leadership and management maze by diving deep into today's topic. In today's topic, we will be unpacking the phenomenon of jealousy and envy in organizations, how to identify as well as how to manage this, and their relationship with proximity. Jealousy and envy are underexplored factors in organizations and lead to adverse repercussions. But firstly, we need to unpack them. To understand jealousy and how it manifests itself, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Firstly, what is jealousy? Cambridge Dictionary defines it as, open quote, a feeling of unhappiness and anger because someone has something or someone that you want, close quote. It is a case of unhappy admiration. Is jealousy natural and normal? Yes, it is, as it centers around emotions. Even animals such as dogs get jealous. Say, for instance, you own a dog and you decide to bring another dog home and give it more attention. The one that you had before will show acts of jealousy. Can jealousy be conscious or unconscious? It's mostly conscious decision as it is a choice. Jealousy generally involves three or more people and can be because of being insecure. However, jealousy can be good or bad, it depends on perspective. It normally acts as a protective reaction to a perceived threat towards a valued relationship. The downside of it is that it normally turns toxic. Jealousy is induced by real or even perceived threat to a valued relationship by an actual or imagined rival. Because jealousy involves three or more individuals, there will be a competition and rivalry for a specific person's attention. Jealousy will become more intense when one party feels that a rival got the attention of his or her person of interest. In an instant that a jealous party is senior, he will abuse his authority to rein in that person of interest. In an instant that a jealous party is junior in rank, she will lie to and deceive the person of interest to have her love and attention to herself only. As you can see, this does not bode well for an organization. The challenge is that relationships have an element of uncertainty and one cannot ultimately control someone's feelings. Hence, organizations have policies that prohibits romantic relationships to avert acts of jealousy. However, jealousy in organization is not only due to romantic relations. The following are the side effects of jealousy. People that are consistently jealous suffer from depression, resentment, absenteeism, are also rebellious, demotivated, unproductive, are likely to sabotage others, and are prone to resignations. These are due to lack of zest and energy as they expended it on their feats of jealous. And jealousy is known to suck a lot of energy. It is only natural that such people will have to recharge their lost energy in some ways, of which most might be undesirable, which might lead to further loss of energy, which will render them even more unproductive. It is important to know that naturally, men and women might react differently to jealousy. Women might resort to binge eating to reduce their anxiety, which will lead to further health issues. They might as well turn to their friends for comfort, whereas men will not, as death will be seen as a sign of weakness. But some people might resort to pacifiers such as alcohol and even drugs to deal with depression and anxiety due to being jealous. This is largely due to a feeling of being helpless and thus seeking an escape from the undesirable situation. Such an escape leads to temporary unconsciousness, which gives a bit of a relief. You see, when we were babies, we were mostly unconscious. And then we grew up, we became more conscious. As adults, When we sometimes are unable to deal with some challenges, we yearn for unconsciousness. Being intoxicated or high makes us temporarily unconscious. This will offer temporary relief and often with dire consequences. Best is to seek professional help if you cannot rein in toxic jealousy, as it is destructive. But what are the common causes of jealousy amongst members within organizations? People with special talents or high work ethics might be hated by colleagues, which will manifest as jealousy. Acts of favoritism towards certain members by a leader, nepotism, low self esteem. It is important to know that there is inversely proportional relationship between jealousy and self esteem. The higher the intensity of jealousy, the lower the self esteem, and vice versa. Insecurity, poor self image, unrealistic expectations or goals. Group thinking, whereby a leader prefers people who think like him, thus stifling diversity of thought. This can be regimental and detrimental to innovation. Also, a leader might display preference for people who share his religious convictions or of same race or ethnicity as himself. This will lead to formation of cabals in an organization. At times, leaders are intimidated by gifted juniors, and instead of nurturing their talents, they sabotage them. The biggest loser in this is an organization, as it does not derive the deserved benefits from the talents of its members due to jealous leaders. All this do not serve the organization but individuals' narrow self-interest. The other cause of jealousy among people in organizations have to do with their upbringing and socialization. For instance, a person who has been raised in a racist environment will be resistant to be led by someone he regards as being inferior to him and thus will become jealous of him. That is dysfunctional socialization. The way people had been brought up plays an important role as to how they behave as adults. This largely affects how they attach and relate to others as adults. Remember that the effectiveness and efficiency of an organization relies on the interaction of its members. There are four types of adult attachments in romantic relationships which can be applied in a work environment. These are preoccupies, anxious ambivalent, avoidant attachments, and secures. Preoccupied attachment individuals are more emotionally jealous. They generally have an inferiority complex and have a negative view of themselves. These people are not necessarily inferior, but feel as if they are. Having a low self esteem, they are reliant and dependent on relationships. They have a difficulty trusting others and fear abandonment and rejections. As kids, they clung to their parents, and as adults, to their partners, leaders, or bosses. Anxious ambivalent attachment individuals experience intense jealousy as they are more insecure about themselves and focus all their care about relationships with someone. Their traits are closely like those of preoccupied attachment individuals. They forever seek others' approvals to avoid conflicts. They are unable to work on their own and rely on others to finish their work. As a leader, this individual is highly sensitive to feedback, particularly a negative one. When negative feedback comes from his senior, he will have a feeling of resentment and rejection. If this comes from his junior, the junior will rue the day he was born, and this leader might turn the rest of the team against him. The avoidant attachment individuals experience a great relationship with themselves and are more of a negative perception on other people. The focus is more on themselves as they do not like attachment with others. They work well independently and do not rely on social support. Being highly focused, they tend to be good at what they do. This might make such an individual a subject of jealousy by colleagues. And finally, the secures. The secures are confident and positive individuals. They like building relationships and keep them going. These are the least jealous, however, they express anger in a controlled manner. They feel secure in their interaction with all the people as they are not worried about being rejected or failing. They are unlikely to put off work and are highly proactive. They are the least jealous. They enjoy high job satisfaction. Most leaders form part of this group. Now let us turn our attention to envy. What is envy? According to Harold Coffin, envy is the art of counting other people's blessings instead of your own. Envious people are largely acting unconsciously on it by focusing on other people's successes and wanting to bring them down because of it. It is shadowy and determined on destroying what it can have. Envy normally involves two people. Same as jealousy, it is an act of unhappy admiration, unhappy when others succeed, and bothered when people talk well about someone. The following are the common traits of envious person. They like putting others down, whether overtly or covertly. They always provoke a reaction of sadness or anger in others and normally stand back and watch from a distance. They are fond of creating doubts by undermining others, always gloating about their achievements and downplaying others' achievements. They use sarcasm by disguising it as humor or jokes. Acts of signifying are prevalent with these individuals. They like peddling lies and innuendos against others. Gaslighting is their favorite pastime. They are in a tendency of imitating or copying others that they are envious of. They are forever on the lookout for any slip ups. Their demeanor and characters are also rooted in low self esteem. They tend to exaggerate other people's flaws. Such people are competitive and take joy in other people's misfortunes. It involves a deep resentment and not tolerating the fact that others have what you do not have. Envious people feel completely justified in their actions and are unapologetic for such. But what are the possible causes of envy? As I stated earlier, envious person hates that someone has what he wants and will hate that person for that. Reasons for this hatred could be things like looks, success, talent, even age. At times, it is elicited by acts of favoritism by authority figures such as parents and bosses. When they are the chosen few in an organization, that will lead to the rest having a feeling of envy as they are left out. And there are always benefits of being favored by an authority figure. Others will not want to miss out on this. Some leaders will take advantage of this innate need by their followers of being liked and acknowledged by being manipulative. They will make the followers to fight for their attention. This they will do with the hope of generating creative tension, but always result as destructive tension as everyone is desperate to rat others to the boss. Backstabbing and sabotage become the order of the day. Proximity also plays a role in envy. People are more envious of people close to them. They will be more envious of a relatively rich neighbor than an extremely rich person like Bill Gates, for an example. Close colleagues are most likely to be envious of each other than colleagues from other units within the same organization. Take, for an example, a beggar who's envious of another beggar who is doing better than him in getting handouts. This same envious beggar will not be jealous of a superbly rich individual such as Elon Musk, for instance. It is even stated in the Bible that a prophet is not acknowledged in his hometown. Hence, some leaders maintain a healthy distance between themselves and their followers to avert this curse of proximity. These leaders only avail themselves when it is beneficial to the visions of organizations. It will be unwise to frequent nightclubs with your subordinates, as what a leader does in his spare time might come back to haunt him. Jealousy and envy have elements of Schadenfreude, a harm joy feeling due to low self esteem. According to Oxford Dictionary, Schadenfreude is a pleasure derived by someone from another person's misfortune. It is a German noun with no direct translation. Schaden means to damage, harm, or hurt, whereas Freude means joy. Schadenfreude is not limited only to jealousy and envy. It is a natural phenomenon and can be noted in children as well. When children notice someone false, they may laugh at such a person, thus deriving joy due to his mishap. It has been established that it is driven by three variables, which are aggression, rivalry, and justice. Aggressive Schadenfreude is a group thing whereby one group derives joy at the other group or group's misfortune. This failure by other groups represents an improvement in one's own group standing. This is more evident in competitive sports such as soccer, whereby rival teams wish each other ill fortune. Rivalry Schadenfreude is at an individual level, whereby interpersonal rivalry and competition is rife. This is elicited by an individual's desire to outperform others. Whichever way one may look at it, it will lead to envy. When such individual fails to outperform his peers, he might feel frustrated and envious towards them. In an instance that he does outperforms them, they might feel jealous and envious towards him. A leader must create a healthy competition among subordinates without this resulting in a toxic affair, thus generating creative tension. Justice based Schadenfreude arise out of yearning for justice. When someone misbehaves, others will want to see him being punished. This will result in a feeling of fairness. In times gone by, criminals were executed in public places such as town squares. This was done to satisfy the needs of the populace to see the criminals paying for their sins. Even in modern times, people celebrate the sentencing to life imprisonment of notorious criminals. This, in essence, will lead to iniquity aversion as people will be deterred to commit crime. Iniquity aversion simply means an avoidance of unfairness. So, if a leader fails to punish a bad behavior, he deprives the followers of the satisfaction of justice based Schadenfreude, and they might resent him. For an organization to encourage iniquity aversion in its ranks, it will need policies that are fair, just, and respected by all. The enforcement and inculcation of such policies will result in a culture of fairness and equity, thus leading to iniquity aversion. Examples of such is when undeserving appointee turns down a promotion due to being embarrassed by this act of nepotism. It might also be due to a guilt feeling of knowing that justice will not be served should he take such a position, as there are better deserving candidates for the position. This might conflict with his value system, knowing well that him accepting the position will discourage others to excel, as they know that people are not rewarded for excellence but for who they know. Let us now have a close look at the impact jealousy and envy have on organizations. Jealousy and envy adversely impact organization as organizations thrive on teamwork. In big organizations, jealousy becomes multi-layered and multidimensional due to the complexity of the organizational structures. The energy that is expended on playing politics within organizations rob them of their mental capital. People playing these games have no regard to the welfare of the organization and will not hesitate to sabotage their colleagues even if that impacts on objectives. Costly mistakes by the favorites are swept under the carpet by authorities. There will be wrong appointments in key positions where people that are supposed to be followers are leading people who are supposed to be their leaders. The organization will experience a high staff turnover due to proliferation of resignations. People who have been appointed not on merit will not get support from principled colleagues and they will celebrate their failure. People generally do not respect a beneficiary of nepotism or favoritism. Such a person will struggle to lead as he will not have influence. But how can we manage envy and jealousy within organizations? We need to pay a close watch at the organizational culture and its reward system. Generally, managers and leaders are being held accountable for results. They thus apply what they know best, which are their own methods. They might seek people who think like them and misconstrue that to mean that they share the same vision. This will result in a lack of diverse talent mix and having the same kind of people. The problem with this narrow and limited approach is that once their methods fail, then the organization fails. The organization will starve for new and fresh ideas as the emergence of such is suppressed by the leaders. These leaders will reward those that copy and imitate them. By encouraging diversity of thought aligned to the organizational objectives will be helpful. Remember, a leader must keep his followers always engaged with a focus on the overall vision and not side issues. People need to know what it takes to be acknowledged and rewarded in organizations, and nepotism makes this blurry. This ultimately creates jealousy and toxic envy, which any leader worth his salt can ill afford. People must be shown how to effectively manage their emotions. They must be encouraged to respond rather than react wherever possible. Reaction involves impulse action without much thought to it, whereas response is often deliberate. Reaction is less desirable as it is an action in reverse direction or manner. One must develop a tendency of pausing between a stimuli and responding. Self development plans can play a pivotal role in abating or minimizing jealousy and envy in organizations. This will encourage people to be cognizant of their strengths and weaknesses and focus on themselves instead of others. As I mentioned earlier, jealousy and envy are forms of unhappy admiration. Therefore, leaders must create environment where admiration will elicit emulation without malice. By turning envy into a happy admiration, that will be inspirational. Envy might lead one to do better as people compare relatively to each other. To further avert persistent jealousy and envy, self introspection is an important tool. One needs to ask himself the following questions: what do I value, or rather, who am I jealous of? What is the context, or what induces such feeling within me? They need to establish the reasons for feeling jealous and envious by answering the question, I am jealous because of, then work towards achieving that with no malice. Wherever possible, people that are promoted to higher positions must be transferred to other units within the organization. A leader or manager must avoid making employees jealous of each other in a negative way. Wherever possible, leaders must avoid a zero sum situation whereby a winner takes all. There must be at least a second and third prizes for the less talented. Lastly, leaders need to explore all possible positives. I trust you found the information shared here to be useful. Please like and share this video with others so as they can derive the same benefits. Feel free to comment in the comment section below. Should you have topics that you want me to cover in the forthcoming episodes, please submit your request on my website www.managersmaze.com. Be on the lookout for more exciting videos. And remember, never deprive the world of the best version of yourself. See you in the next video.